What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 10 of Fantasy in Progress, a point in progress podcast. We're back after man, I can't even. I think it was at the end of Endwalker. That's how long the hiatus has been.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's been what, 4 months?
Yeah. That's a good theory. That's a good solid number. Yeah, it's been 4 months.
Yeah, that's 4 to 5 months. So it's been a while, but we're back. Today is just Fee and I. Frank right now is no idea. Maybe he's lost in the 13 somewhere. He could be just lost there. We don't know where he is right now. But we will be back next weekend though. He'll be back next weekend.
He will.
Yeah. So we took a little bit of a break because there wasn't too much happening when it came to after we finished Endwalker. We didn't have much to talk about because there was not really much happening in the game. We kind of were there for 6.1, but we're back for 6.2, and now we're gonna be back every week with a new episode of Fantasy in Progress. We're going to be talking about the story, the raid. We're going to be talking about Island Sanctuary coming up in a couple of weeks as well. All the new content that they're going to be dropping. Because I think they're going to be dropping content every 2 to 3 months. So there's going to be new stuff. Because the new patch is supposed to have relic stuff and all that kind of type of thing as well. I think at some point we're probably going to talk about Hildebrand because we all have to go through Hildebrand at some point. And
yes.
I'm still on Heaven's Ward Hildebrand, so I still have a lot to do as well.
I'm still an ARR Hildebrand. It's going to be fresh in my freaking mind.
You are going to love Hildebrand.
Oh my god.
You are absolutely going to love this quest.
Here's the thing. My problem is, and my concern is, everyone keeps on hyping it up to me. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, what happens if everyone hypes this up to me? And I'm like, this is dumb.
What is your expectations of Hildebrand?
My expectations, because people are like, oh my god, you love detective stuff. Oh my god, you love chaos. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's two of my favorite things, but why Hildebrand? You know what I mean? Because this guy seems fucking insane. The girl that was, because as far as I think the farthest I've gone, I don't even think I've left the graveyard yet. Actually, no, I think I'm in Ulda for the quest line. I don't remember. It's been a hot minute since I tried to go through this, and I was just sitting there when is this pick up? Because at least for me, and we'll talk about this on our Hildebrand episode, because who knows, in a few episodes maybe I'm like, oh my god, this was actually amazing, everyone was right. But right now I'm concerned because I'm thinking what happens if I get to the end of the line and I'm like, what were you all hyping? You know what I mean? I'm concerned that people are overhyping it.
I don't want to I want to say I safely say that I think you'll be fine going through Hildebrand because it is such a over the top kind of narrative, and who he meets on his journey and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. It's really, really neat. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. But today we're gonna talk about 6.2, which is Buried Memories. Mm-hmm. This patch just came out a week ago. So it came out around the 23rd or so of August, and this is us delving deeper into the 13. So where we left off before 6.2 is we're gonna go into the 13th because we have to go find Ashdaya, who is Vitra's sister, who was lost during the Allegan War, and got sucked into the 13. And all we know about the 13th that it is a voice. It's just crawling with void sand. It is just a place where there's no ether, and it's pretty much hell on earth in a way. Hell on earth. I thought about this as in a way as this is the Doom world, but for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I was thinking that as well. I also kind of got, and correct me if I'm wrong, I got a lot of the Umbrella Academy vibe with, I'm trying to remember if you have watched the Umbrella Academy or not.
I have not.
Okay, so one of the actual siblings, the Umbrella Academy siblings, has the ability to take open up a portal with his body, and it's almost like an HP Lovecraftian kind of hellscape that dissipates out of his body, which ends up if you've watched it, you know what happens to him. I'm not going to spoil it for people. I know it's been like 4 years. Either way, I digress. So it had that kind of like look to it, especially when he was trying to close it and they tried to like escape, and then all the tentacles were coming out in the hands, and they're like, ah! So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
You lost me at tentacles. And going, ah!
Well, that's what happened. Was I not right? They're just like, let us know.
You are right. You are right.
Thank you.
But yeah, so we went to the 13th, and right when we get into the 13th, we go into a dungeon, which is the castle. What was it? I forgot what it was called now. Something of Troya. Of the halls of Troya.
It may have been. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the Fell Court of Troya.
The Fell Court of Troya. Okay, which makes sense because we're going through the entire castle from bottom to top. What did you think about the dungeon? Just jumping right into it.
Okay, here's the dealio. I liked the dungeon up until, and you know why what I'm about to say. When you had to go up and down, then halfway, then up, and then halfway to the quarter, and then halfway down, and then you get lost, and then you randomly accidentally go back to the source, and you're like, how the hell did I end up back at the source? And then when you try to get back in, they're just like, do you want to queue up for a dungeon? And I'm like, no, because they have the portal, like the actual like shining gate to join the dungeon is right in front of the very minute, small little blue glowing circle that says you can go back into Troya. So I'm just like, what happens if I accidentally queued back up again? Like, what? So I like the dungeon. I like the concept of going in instantaneously and making it a dungeon from the beginning of Troya all the way to the end of Troya. And I'm like, okay, this is fantastic. It was just the going up and down was my particular issue with it.
No, I agree with you because when we were doing the quest together, so we did the entire MSQ for 6.2 together, and I remember when I said to you, I was like, I like this where we go back into the dungeon and stuff, but then it started like wearing thin a lot because like it wasn't even like go to the next room, it was like go 3 rooms down and talk to like Rashawn, and then go back up to the court, and then go back down through two more rooms. It's like, oh, this is kind of a waste of time. But before we get into like the like after we finish the dungeon, we got a new Rashawn body. Yes. He is not a little kid. He's not a minor anymore. This guy is a full-on adult now. 20, maybe like in his mid-20s, I would say.
Oh yes,
mid-20s.
They were looking at this and they're like, we need a character for 6.2 for people to simp on. And you know what? We're taking this really like great character that we introduced in 6, and then just bring him as an adult. Because you know the fan service is out there. You know people are already making artwork for this. There's already fan art with him with an 8-pack. So, ta-da! You're welcome, apparently, from Square Enix.
Square Enix loves doing this. They love doing this stuff.
God. But no, I was interested to see why. Because I'm like, this guy apparently is the ruler, but he uses like a small boy body. Why did he have to switch over to this body to go into for 13th?
I think it's more. I think you brought it up because like I think it was because like they probably don't want a kid just going through a thing to the 13th when like with the darkness. Also, I think he can actually wield weapons and stuff now, right? Like he's got a sword shield. He's supposed to be the tank of the trust system.
I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But you know what? There's Lalafels who are able to wield a sword and a shield.
I don't think he wants to be a Lalafell.
I mean, no one wants to be a Lalafell in the right mind, but like, let's be real. I understand where they were coming from. It was just kind of, it threw me off and it threw me for a loop because I'm like, wait, whoa, where did this guy come from? And then it's Forshawn, and you're like, okay, this is happening. Cool beans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except it was slightly weird when he came back and he went back to the child body, which was a little weird. But
Well,
I
they
understand they have to
explain it.
charge it. They
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
charge him, but like,
Gotta put a battery inside.
you charging him up?
Yeah,
Well,
charge it. You gotta charge them up for next use. You know, you gotta charge it up for next use.
is it like the older your vessel body is, the more you have
energy
to
it
like
takes.
charge them?
Yeah, the more
Where
energy
it's
it
with a
takes.
kid, it's just like the kid can go on forever, but it's like, oh, it's a 20-year-old. I can only do this for about 12 hours, and then I need to take about a day and a half to like.
Is it that how bodies work in general? The older you get, the less energy you have.
I mean, I guess, but it almost seems like it's more of a hangover than anything, because it's just like the guy needs to take like a nap for a little bit. Like, okay,
True. But yeah, so we get into the 13, and we get through this dungeon, and we find so most of 6.0 and 6.1 and all of 6.0 and 6.x, we'll just say 6.x, has been Final Fantasy IV references up the wazoo. And from my knowledge, you've never played Final Fantasy IV before.
Correct.
So the good thing about Final Fantasy, and I think you know this too, is that they don't make it so you need to play Final Fantasy 4. Like they don't make you they don't make you play the previous Final Fantasies. They just put a lot of these characters in there for the people that know is nostalgic for us, but that's really it. It's just a nostalgic trip. The Scarmiglione, who is the boss for this dungeon, is completely different from the beast in Final Fantasy IV. Just the demeanor, his attitude, and all that kind of stuff. It's completely different. But seeing Scarmiglione as the final boss was kind of cool for me, because like I was like, oh man, I know this beast. Like I know the 4 Archfiends, and seeing the first Archfiend, I was a little weird. It was a little weird that it is part of a dungeon, but we'll get to why in a little bit. After we beat Scarmiglione, we get to the court and we find the Void Send. What do you think that was going to happen when we found that Void Send? Like what were your thoughts at that moment?
Okay, well, we saw kind of a clip of the Void Send at the end of 6.1, and I'm like, I am excited to deal with this weird creature that has like the oh my goodness, the scythe, and then they also had the hands over the face, because they had like the eye covering the eyes, and I'm like, I'm interested to see what this does.
Because the last time we saw it was with Xenos, right?
Correct. I'm like, is this going to be a Pan Labyrinth kind of thing where the hands come out and then it's just a bunch of eyes, and then they're like, whoa.
I hated that part. I hated that part.
Oh my god, honestly, masterpiece of a moment. But
yeah,
I digress.
100%.
We can talk about Pan's Labyrinth for days, but no, I was not expecting what happened at all whatsoever. At least for me, I haven't specifically dealt with any other like Final Fantasy like any Final Fantasy series, so I'm not really familiar with the Void Sent, or if it is any sort of piece of any of the other games, but I was not expecting what happened.
From what I know, Void Sent is game by game, so I think it changes game by game. So this is a Final Fantasy 14 thing of how they treat Void Send. And so what they do is they have a crystal from Hydaelyn, and that purifies the Void Send and brings out a brand new character that we've never seen before. And we end up naming her Zero because I don't know like the context of that. Fee, can you like explain to me or explain to everybody again why they called her Zero? Because I know this is a big trope in anime.
Okay, so even as she specifically mentions when she gets the name Zero, she's like, oh, so I'm nothing. And they're like, no, because it's supposed to mean the beginning of something. So a lot of different, like in specifically anime, and just in a lot of like Japanese specific lore, when it comes to Zero, it means the beginning of something. So Zero didn't have a name. Zero had always been like only knew the darkness that surrounded them in the 13th. We find out that even her mother, like the reason why she's a part of a Void Sent, she's not a full Void Sent in a way. She explains it specifically because her mother was touched by the darkness
while she was in the womb.
while she was in the wound. So when the 13th fell, she became a part of the void sense, but is separate from what has been happening to the other people and entities on in the 13th, because everything turned, like even the land like dissipated, the water dissipated, the skies cloudy and misty at all times for the most part, and she didn't have a name, and so they wanted to give her the name Zero. I'll be honest, my theory was she was essentially like, I thought she was going to be like Xenos's Horcrux, where it just like she just turns into fucking Xenos, and then he's just like my best friend, and you're just like, what the fuck? I thought we destroyed you.
The boy who lived, the man who lived.
The man who lived through all of his freaking Horcruxes, including that. But no, it was like really cool to kind of see that, because if anyone are anime fans listening to this, you know how many anime series have Zero in it, or characters that are named Zero. So it makes sense why they named her that. And it was kind of sweet. I'm very excited for her redemption arc. And honestly, this is my theory. She's gonna die by the end of
Is it by the time we get to 7.0?
I think by 7.0, the reason why we're able to get to 7.0 is because she sacrifices herself and says, like, I finally realize. And then, or maybe we send her to the first and then she gets, like, everything goes swell for her. Who knows? But I think it's going to be a freaking sacrifice moment, and I don't need to get freaking attached to someone like I did with Hoshafont, because I got attached to Hoshafont after I dealt with him, and I was at the beginning I was like, oh, this guy's really dumb, like I can't handle this guy, and you're just like, you're gonna really like him, and then I fell for Hoshafont and I thought he was adorable, and I'm just like,
because he's so happy all the time, he's so positive.
And now we have the anti-Hoshafont, which is a person who's just like, woe is me, I'm like, I trade like specific things so I can help you. And even to the point where she traded, like she made a deal with the team because we gave her a name. She's like, oh, you gave me a name, so I'll do one thing for you.
Yeah,
like it seems a lot of like deals going on in her head, but I feel like by the end she's gonna be like, this is on me, and then she like just does something to throw herself into the sacrifice. That's my theory. Let's be real. That's very Final Fantasy, so it's probably not going to happen.
I mean, I don't see it not happening, because like I don't see her joining the Scions, because I feel like we have so many members of the Scions already, and it's hard enough to keep track of these guys where they are.
The Scions are done, according to Estinian. He's just like, oh yeah.
Oh no, he was
former.
He's a little shit. He's a little shit when he talks about that kind of thing. Yeah, he's like, us Scions. Wait, former Scions.
You remember the time when like he's just like, fuck you guys, I'm never joining you, and now he's just like, I'm a part of the team. Not only that, I make jokes now. Like, what the fuck? What happened to Heaven's Ward, Estinian? Can we talk about that? Because like where did this guy come from? The Mr. Jokester who spends way too much money on everything. Like, who
doesn't know the value of money?
He doesn't know the value of money. The guy throws out money. Mind you, he plays the same way as I do when I play D&D, and I'm just like, I don't understand the amount of like the amount of what a gold coin is, and I'm like, I'll give you 10 coins for something, and then all the like the NPCs are like, what the fuck, why did you give me 10 gold coins? And I'm like, I don't know, it seemed like something I should do here, not knowing that 10 gold pieces is absolutely absurd for like a room for a night, but who knew? I didn't know, I don't understand. And so does Estinian, so I get him. I can relate to him in that manner.
You can relate to his plight. So after that, we fight Scribbliglione again, and then we figure out that they don't die until they get crystallized. And the only person that can seem to do it is another Voidsen.
Yeah.
And that is Zero. So that means one beast is down out of the 3. So the thing, so before we get into it a little bit further, the 4 Archfiends are Golbez's, who is one of the big bosses of Final Fantasy IV. He's one of the last bosses of Final Fantasy IV. They are his 4 like henchmen / generals in a way, and you fight them multiple times in Final Fantasy IV. You kill them, and then they come back, and then you kill them again. And then there's a whole thing with Golbez, and in Final Fantasy IV, like this might come into fruition in this game. In Final Fantasy IV, Golbez is a dragon who is I forgot what the name is. Zesmus, I think that's what its name is, and I have a feeling they're gonna try to put that into Azhdaya as well, because Azhdaya is a dragon, so I think they might put that storyline together and then kind of push it forward in that way. So that's pretty much the backstory of Final Fantasy IV, of like the 4B Archfiends and then the and Golbez itself. We still don't know what like the end goal for Golbez is in this game. No idea yet, really, because he keeps alluding to it, but he doesn't say, like, he actually doesn't. He hasn't shown it off yet. He hasn't shown off his hands yet. Shown his cards yet. So, and one of the things about all the names. So you got Scarmiglione, you got Barbaricia, Cognazio, and Rubicante. They're all Italian names because of, I think it was based off of like a play or an old Italian. I forgot what it was based on. It's off of like an old Italian comedy or something like that with the names. And that's why, like, when we go see Zero's little domain, the one monster that eats his friend, he has a very Italian name as well. It's like Ciccarello or something like that. Ciccaretto or something like that. So it's very cool to see that in a Final Fantasy game. Like, even in Final Fantasy IV, it was kind of cool to see like different kinds of names, because like you expect like more Japanese based names and stuff like that, right? But it's kind of cool to see it like a different route for these enemies. So we find out that this guy eats his friend, and then we find Barbaricia, who has so much hair in this. It is ridiculous.
This girl needs to lay off the freaking hairspray because her hair is in clumps.
Yes.
It is concerning, girl.
She also has the power of wind, so she brings her a whole. She's one of the only people that can bring her domain to other places because she has the power of the wind. So she brings her domain over, and then we fight her in this primal fight, which honestly is one of my favorite primal fights of the game so far. I really enjoyed it. What did you think about it?
I thought it was quite cool. It was definitely different. I will be honest. Talking about anime again, there is a very popular anime called Jujutsu Kaisen, and there is a ability called Dominion Expanse, where essentially very top tier specific demons can open up like essentially their own domain, and it is really cool. It's really interesting, and it gave me that vibe. Because it was just like at least the ones that we saw from like season 1, only like the highest of the highest rank ones can open up an expanse. So I was just like, ooh, I like this. This is definitely like reminiscent of that. It also kind of gave me the same vibe as the Shadowbringers fight. When we were fighting what is his name?
Hades?
No, the big guy who then became really attractive at the end.
Oh, what are you talking about? Innocence? Or are you talking about Innocence in base Shadowbringers?
Yes, when we like go up to his tower domain. Yeah, Vothri.
Yeah, Innocence. Yeah, the Innocence.
Yeah, it had that it had that almost like same look to it, where it was this like very like over the top kind of character, the same way where she was just like, I am the best. And the same thing with Vothri. Vothri believed that he was going to bring the destruction, or at least the light, to the first. And she's the same way, where she's going to be the control. Like she definitely had that vibe where she was like the right hand, but if she had lived, she probably would have tried to like overthrow everybody.
Yeah.
She definitely had that like I'm the best kind of vibe, and it was the same thing with Vothri, where Vothri was just like, be here with my presence, where she's just like, oh my god, my hair. Like it was.
She probably wants to be like the best Archfiend out of all.
Correct.
Of them, right?
If not, like wait until she takes down her brethren and then just take out everybody, and then she becomes the overlord of the 13th.
we've taken out 2 of them. Do you think they're not? You don't think they're dead, right? These 2 archfiends?
Oh no, they're locked up. They're locked up in their little gems.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I have a feeling we're gonna see these again.
Yeah, there's gonna be definitely a way where that guy, who, oh my god, I forgot his name already. Golbez is going to take them back in some capacity. Like when we finally fight him, he's going to bring them back in some capacity. Because where do the crystals go after? Like, I don't really know if they actually explained what happens to them.
Yeah, I don't know if they did. Unless I missed it. I don't think they're
just like, here's crystals, and then it's just like, what does Zero just have a collection now in their expanse? Because their expanse is like the island of misfit toys over there. I don't think she has some sort of lock and key setup happening for those particular crystals.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know if you can like differentiate between like which one's an archfiend and which one's a normal monster, because they all look the same to me.
It would be so dumb. He's just like, I bring back the archfiends, and then it's just like a glob. It's just like, master. Like, I imagine he has some ability to be able to tell who's who, but
yeah,
man, that was they didn't even look different. You would assume that their crystal looked different than everyone else's, and I don't remember that they did.
No, they didn't. They looked the same. They were small purple ones, just like every other one. Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
man, I would be mad as an archfiend. I'd be like, I want my crystal to at least look different. She's probably like, why isn't mine like wrapped in hair or like has swirling hair?
Or at least is green. You know,
or at least green. Oh my god! Like, give me that. Like, I'm now mad for her. I'm like, why isn't my green?
It's fair. It's fair. No, it was a really good fight. I really, really enjoyed it. The EX version is actually really, really fun too. And then we go back to the source because Zero passed out, and they had to bring her back because their time. The thing is, like, you can't stay in the 13th forever. You have to go back because one, Varshawn needs to go back because he has a body that he's has to maintain. So, so he has to go back, and so we bring her back, and like there's just a bunch of hijinks when she's there. You know. She looks at Nidhana, thinks she's a fiend, doesn't know how to eat things, you know, just the regular shit, you know, just the regular fun stuff that they have. So not really much happened when we get back to the source, really. We get a little bit of like background and stuff, but there's one thing that they do talk about is bringing the 13th back to life. And this, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, which I want to preface, during Harv's live stream, he told me that's never gonna happen. They're not gonna do this. And I said, it is fucking Final Fantasy 14, my dude. Anything can fucking happen. And obviously this is going to be a story point. And man, once we were all fucking stream, it decides to start talking about this. And I'm like, now I just look like a dum-dum because everyone who like was watching your stream thinks like, obviously this isn't gonna happen. But they talk about it. So
this is the thing. So if you've never done the Eden raids before, you don't know about this stuff, right? Because like the Eden, its whole premise is taking a piece of land that has been engulfed by the light and bringing it back to stasis, where you can bring back the elements. And then by the time you're done, you have like a big field of like greenery and water and all this kind of stuff. So I think that premise of Eden, they're gonna try to take to the 13. I think either that's going to be the premise of the patches, or that's gonna be the premise of 7.0. Is bringing the 13th back. I don't know if it seems like it's a tall task to do that with patches because you only get like 9 quests per patch.
I mean, true, unless they do some sort of weird like trial or even a 24-man raid. But that would be
But 24-man raids have their own story that they're playing with, right? They have that whole thing that we haven't even got into that stuff yet. So they have they're talking about the 12 gods in their story, which is amazing, by the way. But we'll talk to that once we all get together. But yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know how they're gonna put that all together. But yeah, I think what you said, and the main reason why I said that.
Thank you.
The main reason why I said that that we can't bring it back is because I don't remember if you finished Eden or not.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I did not.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't want to spoil what Eden is, but it's kind of hard not to do that because they keep referencing it over and over and over. So yeah,
I mean, that's fair. I just thought even separating it, and honestly, here's my idea, Harv. Now it's gonna be a little unorthodox. We bring the Light Wardens back and we just take them to the 13th. We just let them go fucking apeshit crazy. And we're like, you wanted to deal with the darkness. You want to get rid of it. Let me just bring you back.
That's like putting gasoline on a fire that's already fucking raging. It's like, you know what? I want more chaos.
I mean, that's gonna be like plan like Q, okay? You know what? We tried everything else. Let's just bring the Light Wardens back and just go for it.
You know what? 13th will be our fucking where we test shit, and we're just gonna throw shit in there and see what happens.
It's gonna be our Fallout vault. Yeah. We are gonna do all the tests. And the worst case scenario, we just bring the Wardens back. Because honestly, like that seems like the only way to fix it if all else fails. Mind you, I'm saying that being like plan Q because there's multiple other things we could do before then. I just want to see everything burn and see what happens, you know? Maybe it'll balance it out. Like two crazy evils go up against each other and then boom, everything's back to normal. And then you're just like, okay, cool. But that's definitely not how you fix it, guys. I'm just joking, but I think
that would be funny though. That would be funny though. That would be funny. It's like, you know what? Let's just resurrect Vol3, just throw him in there and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a dungeon in I think it was in Heavensward that I didn't do for a very long time, where I started freaking out to Harv because I'm like, there's Light Wardens here. Why isn't anyone freaking out about this? The sound that the lanterns are making is literally the sound that the Wardens make. And the sky makes in the first.
And you know what? When you had that eureka moment, it reminded me of when you had when we both had the eureka moment in Stranger Things of that last episode. It was the exact same thing, where like I saw like I heard the wheels turning in your head when we were going through that dungeon, and it's like, wait, this seems a little weird. This is very weird because even the bosses are the bosses that the Light Wardens have. What?
Yeah, and then it was just like, Harv, that sounds that's the sound. You're just like, what? And I'm like, that's the sound that the sky makes in the first, and it's just like the low, like, woo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's literally what's going on. And then we're like, oh my god. And then the Light Wardens come out, and then we're just like, ah. But no, it was very interesting to see that, and then also it's very weird, the 13th, because it's like the stark opposite and what could have happened to the first if the light would obviously be very different. And I think maybe bringing Eden in, I don't know, I haven't finished Eden, mind you, but trying to find some way to start fixing things from the ground up, because now they don't even have land. Are they just going to be like essentially the floating isles in Heavensward, where they're just constantly
like
floating,
the churning mist kind of type thing?
Yeah, because that's a nightmare and a half. I hope everyone gets flying there because that's horrendous.
I mean,
I hated the churning mist.
I know, I hated the churning mist too. I was not a big fan of that zone. I mean, it seems like every voice head can fly, but like, yeah, if you bring back everything to the 13th, I don't know how that works with people. Like, do the voice heads just become people then? Like, I don't know how that works and like how that little translates, or is the 13th just gonna be a barren place where nobody's there?
This is what they do. They just have their big Beauty and the Beast moment, and everyone just changes back to normal, and then they're like, "Wow!" and then they just break out in song, and then everyone's upset.
Are you saying that the candle and like the dresser, their voice said?
Did we just unlock something with the Beauty and the Beast that
Yeah,
it's actually
apparently they're
voiceless?
evil void sends and we just don't know about it.
Does Belle have the ability to change void scent back into humans? Is this like just an ability that maybe we should bring Belle.
Okay,
That's
I'm
it.
trying to remember how Cinderella ends. How do they get back to human form again?
He finds true love with Belle.
Oh yeah, that's how it always is, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the same thing with except in this game, and like for some reason everything now it's like either despair or hope, and so hope needs to win, obviously because there's chaos and despair. You just need to bring hope.
I mean,
Maybe
Ed Walker's whole premise is despair.
you know what? We just find Zero a man, you know what, or a woman, whatever they specifically want, and then that's how we fix it, and then everyone turns back to normal. There'll be a musical number.
Let's just bring BT on over. Let's see what happens.
BTon
is good now, though. BTon's good.
I mean, that's true, but I don't like. You know what? It's kind of like taking like. I feel as though it would be like taking a person who just went out of a AA meeting right into a bar and said, "Hey, here's all the despair that you ever wanted. Here you go," and just shove them into the portal. Which, by the way, I still can't get over the fact that the portal is a mouth. We haven't even talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Why is the portal a mouth, Harv? Please
so
so
this one, I think its first appearance was Final Fantasy IX.
Okay.
And it was a summon. And the whole thing about it is it's a gateway. That's all it is. Like that's what it's supposed to be. It's a gateway. Okay. And they used it the same thing in Final Fantasy XI where you go into it. If you go into the gateway, it takes you to the past in Final Fantasy XI. So it's just like it's pretty much just a door in a way. That just teleports you.
Squishy? Like, are you stepping on the tongue or something?
I mean,
like...
the thing is, like, Final Fantasy IX is not very, the graphics weren't that great. Final Fantasy XI, again, the same thing. So I really don't know if it is. I think it just takes your energy and then sucks you in. Because we also see it in one of the 24-man raids as well.
True.
We see it in the little circular things, and it sucks you in and spits you back out. So I think that's really what it does.
I don't like that, though. It's weird. But either way, very weird. Yeah. I did not like that. I did not like that at all. There was no... Like, how to get to the first. Oh, you just walk through a crystal, essentially glass mirror, and in this one it's just like, okay, you want to go to the 13th, step in that mouth. Well, like, what the fuck?
Technically, to get to the first, you have to hit that little doohickey that the Crystal Exarch put in Morgana.
Yeah. Okay, that's still not walking into a mouth, Harv.
True, but then to get back from the first to the source, you have to go through a mirror wall thing.
Now I have a question: are there now portals to the other realms? Like,
there's gotta be. There has to be.
Do we go into a closet and then end up in like
some Hogwarts shit right here?
It's Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, you idiot!
Or that. It's the same shit. It's the same shit.
Oh my god. I mean, there is a portal technically in Harry Potter where you go into a specific closet and then you go up and you end up in like the dark end of Diagon Alley. I get it. I understand. But there's a difference. And I'm very interested because then that opens up like, do we like in 7, do we end up going to different areas and then finding like, here's the portal to the 7th, or here's the portal to the 14th, like, I don't know, like whatever it might be. There's just a ton of them. Like, there's just different portals everywhere
we know how many are left, right? Because I think like 4 of them were destroyed or 5 of them were destroyed or something like that.
Well, was the 13th considered destroyed?
Well, it's not destroyed, but it's still there. So destroyed. So do you remember the Heidelin cutscene in Endwalker, where she's walking, and every time she gets hit, that's one of the shards being destroyed by either light or dark.
Yeah.
The thing about the 13th that it's not fully engulfed.
Okay, well then we just answered our own question. That's why the 13th has the ability to have some sort of like.
That's why, it's got void send and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's still got something there
to be rectified, because if it was considered destroyed, we wouldn't have been able to enter the 13th. But since there is some sort of hope, which, by the way, once again, that fucking word, hope, that's why we're able to go to the 13th, and that's why they're having conversations about there is a chance that we could try to save it before it tips over to the edge. Because obviously, if there's people like Zero there's a chance.
There's
you know
a
what
chance.
I mean?
There's always a chance.
Was it with hope?
Yeah, with hope, there's always a chance.
With hope.
The other thing I wanted to just, it's like kind of more of like a PSA. There are quests. So okay. Funny thing, you remember when you saw that thing at the end of 6.2 and the guy was running for it, that little Hektai thing, and you're like, what the fuck is that thing? So around where that thing is running, there's a quest there that gives you the backstory of the Archfiends.
Oh.
Where they came from and who they are.
Why isn't that in like red light, like arrows pointing towards it?
It's just because like none of it is like you don't need to know it, because I don't think it's part of the story, because they're completely different people now. Obviously,
I know it.
I know, but like you don't need to know it. Like it's not a necessity to know it.
I feel like it's a necessity.
But they're different people now. Like they're fiends. They're not those people anymore.
But yeah, you can get connected with, or at least feel attached to them.
Yeah,
because then you can feel like
and then you kill them and it feels so much better. So they're I think from what I know is that they're not great people.
Okay.
So, but like but there are cutscenes that show you like where Barbaricha came from and stuff like that too, like who her father was and what her family was and stuff like that. So there are those quests. At some point, I have to do them because again, they're not the same back because I don't think we get any backstory in Final Fantasy IV about these fiends. So this is all Final Fantasy 14 kind of type thing.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Does this get you? Are you excited when you play this game to play any of the Final Fantasy games that it references, or is it more just kind of like, I'm okay, living in, I guess, ignorance is bliss. I guess like not ignorance is bliss. Is like you don't need to know really. You don't want to like experience those games.
I haven't specifically felt an urge to play any of the other Final Fantasy games, mostly because I really enjoy what's happening with Final Fantasy 14. Like, I haven't felt a need to be like, oh man, I need to know what happened in the 4. Oh, I need to go and play this other game. I need to go play 12. I need to go play 8. I need to go play these other games, because I'm just like, there's so much to experience with this particular game. And I will be honest, and I was thinking about it the other day, and this is going to sound very like, I will probably say it sounds self-centered. I like my character a lot in Final Fantasy 14, and I want to see where she can progress and where she can go in this particular universe. I haven't felt like, oh man, I need to know what's happening. Like, knowing that I can find out about the Archfiends, like, that's really exciting for me, because as you know, I love game lore, but I haven't felt an urge to be like, oh man, I need to go put myself in these characters' stories to go and find this out. It's more in lines of, if I can find it in this game, fantastic. If I do need to at some point go and play 4, I might. But I haven't felt a massive urge to do it. And I also heard not so great things about 4, but
4 is one of the best ones.
I don't know. I sent you a TikTok earlier. But no, I've just been really enjoying just playing Final Fantasy 14. I haven't played I'd say I haven't played. I've like played bits and pieces of the other games, but I haven't really like sat down and been like, oh man, I need to finish this Final Fantasy game, because I've just been really enjoying Final Fantasy 14. I get to play with all of you, and then also get to see these storylines, because there's some storylines in this game that I'm just like, holy crap, I want to go learn about that. Like, obviously I'm going to go do the Hildebrand quest line, even though I was ragging on it earlier, because we're going to be talking about it. We're going to have an entire podcast about it later on in the next few weeks, so I need to. But no, I really like the character that I have in the game, and I get to live in, or at least experience this world through that character.
Heck yeah. You will never need to play the old Final Fantasy games. I think Square Enix has done a really, really good job of just introducing these characters. Like to you, Golbez is just like another bad guy, right? He's just a bad guy that's trying to do bad things. To people that play Final Fantasy IV, we're like, holy fuck, it's Golbez. That's crazy, because he's like one of the badass like bosses of Final Fantasy IV. But it really doesn't matter because it's a different Golbez. He's doing different things. He's got a whole different agenda and all that kind of shit, right? So it's like these games. I think Square Enix is doing a good job that people that have never played those old games, they don't need to, but they can if they want to experience another story with them.
The same thing if I like in the future they came out with like, I'm gonna use this because it's one of my favorite series. They bring out like Fallout 5. And then like this is like years down the line. And then all of a sudden we have like a story quest with a like a specific robot. If you haven't played it before, then you're not really like, okay, whatever. It's a robot.
Like Valentine, for example.
That Harv, I was leading up to that.
Oh, okay,
I was leading up to Valentine.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. Why would you ruin this?
I'm sorry.
My god. One of my favorite companions in the entirety of the Fallout series is Nick Valentine, because I dressed up like a fucking detective with him and we went out on heists and like different stories and stuff like that. Because like for me, like even if he was just an NPC where you did like a few quests with him and then he went back, like for me that is massive, because like, oh my god, it's this character that I knew, or like playing through like an Ace Attorney game and then you get to see one of the original murderers, or one of the characters that we haven't seen in quite a long time, whatever that might be. But no, I respect that it means a lot to the Final Fantasy community, especially if you've played the older ones. For me, I would love to know the history of it. I might go and read about it, because I know that there's a lot of YouTube videos by some fantastic people.
Games are long.
The games are long. Your girl does not have the time, and I know that sounds bad, but like
if you don't have the time, you like these are 30 to 40 hour games, and if you want to do like a lot of other shit like extra stuff, it's like 50 to 60 hours. If you don't have the time, I don't and they're all turn based, so like if you don't like turn based games, you're probably not going to enjoy them. And they're like old school turn based games too, right? So it's
Well, I love turn-based games, and honestly, in the future, if this podcast ever gets us to a point where I can quit my day job, sure, I will go and play through all of the old series, and I will make a whole deal out of it. But for now, I love to experience Final Fantasy XIV, and we're going to be talking about a few things that I'm super addicted to later on. Including the Island Sanctuary, which is something that we get to look forward to talking about. Well, at least I get to talk about it, and they can listen to me for an hour.
By the time the Island Sanctuary episode comes in, I'll be ranked 10.
Okay.
I will be ranked 10 because I'm gonna do everything, because I want to at least be knowledgeable about it and talk about like what that is, and then we can both nerd out on it.
Oh, your girl has already 3 tiers. That's why I was almost able to die earlier, because I was jumping from the highest point of my fucking island, and it is quite up there. So, no, I'm very excited to be talking about that. But no, I'm really excited to see where they take the 13th over the next few patches, though.
Yeah, we probably have about 3-4 more patches left for actual main story. So I'm very excited too. Okay, so the last question is what? Okay, I kind of want to start doing this. What out of 10? What would you rate this patch? I know not like a lot of things happened, but there were some significant things, like significant events.
Are we just talking quest wise or all together patch wise?
The MSQ side of it.
Okay, the MSQ side. A 7. I would probably. It was like it's not in the 6 territory, but it's not an 8 territory kind of thing. There was a few areas where I was just like, the Zero, seeing her for the first time, I was dying when she first woke up and she saw, oh my god, I forgot her name already. Nidhana, like that Nidhana's like entire like disposition with her is just like,
you don't know how to eat.
Yeah. Oh my god, the Ryuk kind of like shout out to Death Note with Zero and her fascination with apples afterwards. You know that girl is now obsessed with apples,
Yeah,
and
she's like, I'm gonna take this as deposit.
I'm like, that is very undead of you, because that is definitely a shout out. If it's not, like, obviously, there's no freaking way that that's not a shout out.
100% it is.
From Death Note.
100%. Yeah.
Like, there's no freaking way.
It's too specific.
Yeah, it's either that. It was either. I'm gonna be honest, and this is gonna sound very silly. It'll make sense for people who like Death Note. It's either the apples or would have been chips. It would have been a bag of chips, because that was a huge meme for a very long time, because the character, like, he's eating chips. I digress. Either way, apples are a huge thing. I know it has some other symbology to it, but I think it's definitely Death Note.
Yeah, I agree with it. I agree with your assessment too. I lean at a 7. I'm like at a high 7, where it's like almost an 8, but like not there yet. Like it's almost there.
I would say it's a low 7 to me.
Yeah, because I think when we get to the 13th, it does drag, because you're going up and down. You're going up and down. It does drag for a while until you hit Barbaricia, and then it starts like picking up. And then even going back to the source, it kind of does slow down a little bit as well. But we need character development, though. We need her character. She's a brand new character. If there was no new character, I think they would have went faster. But there is a new character, so we have to develop her for this patch.
Yeah, they definitely need to. And quite frankly, like, I apologize. I did not write down the names of the people, but the people who we ran the dungeon with, fucking 10 out of 10. Super chill. We fucked up real hard, Harv. We fucked up real fucking hard. And they're just like, it's okay, guys. We got this. We're going through this together. And I'm like, hell yeah. I fucked up and I had 4 stacks on me. But you know what? No one was getting mad. Everyone was cool.
It's the good thing of, like, when patch first drops, everybody has, like, the patience, right? Because everybody's running it through the first time, or they just only ran it once and stuff like that. So
next week, absolutely not. The fucking talons are out. People are leaving. They're just like, you noob, and then leaving. It's a big thing. But no, I am really excited to see where it goes next. And I'm happy the fact that they introduced a relatively newer character. I'm just concerned for her safety now. So
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had to talk about today. So that was it. It's a short. We got a good almost hour episode. Clean, quick, done. Guys, thank you guys so much. Fee, where can everybody find you?
People can find me over on Twitter, twitter.com/Serenix. You can find me over on Twitch when it's not hot as balls. I'm sorry, guys. I keep on saying I'm going to stream. It is so humid here. I don't know if you've been able to tell for the people who are watching on YouTube. I am now sweating, and I'm just literally just existing in this fucking house, like this apartment. It is so... Anyway, I digress. Once it cools down a little bit, you'll see me over on Twitch. I have a bunch of games that I plan on streaming, including Final Fantasy. But for the time being, until I figure out why everything is going to hell in a handbasket when it comes to heat, your girl's staying off, or at least staying off of this computer for a little bit.
It's fair. Yeah, you can follow me here, Point in Progress. We're gonna have episodes every week for the next week. This week is like I said, main scenario. Next week it's gonna be Pandemonium. We're all gonna go through Pandemonium, and then the week after that will be Island Sanctuary. So those are gonna be the 3 next episodes for Fantasy in Progress, and we should have Frank back for at least the Pandemonium one. I don't know if the Island Sanctuary stuff is his thing, but we'll see.
I mean, why not?
Right?
We can see. And if people are listening to this and they're like, man, I fucking love Island Sanctuary, directly message us. Maybe we can fit you in on the podcast.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. I would love to talk to people who are obsessed with the Island Sanctuary like I am, because I've been spending way too much time there. Way too much time.
Yeah, people like forgot like the MSQ and just did Island Sanctuary for a while, and then just missed an entire week of MSQ because of it.
One of my favorite things, and it's the famous community clip from the episode where it's funny because it talks about the different like scenarios, or at least the different realms of the coin flip. So if you haven't watched that episode of Community, definitely that's a-okay, but you should definitely recognize the Donald Glover coming into the apartment with the pizzas. And
Yeah.
someone just posted like right across it, people playing Island Sanctuary and just enjoying it as like everything else is burning because like fuck the patch apparently. Let's play Island Sanctuary,
Pretty
which
much.
like I completely get. If we were not doing this, I honestly would probably still just be on the island, just doing my own thing, probably at level 10 by this point, but gotta play MSQ, and apparently I have to go play Hildebrand. So
yeah, well, we'll schedule. I'll try to schedule like a month in advance to see what we're gonna be talking about, and then I'll just do that monthly, and I'll let everybody know. But guys, thank you guys so much for listening to episode 10 of Fantasy in Progress. Pretty much your one-stop shop for Final Fantasy stuff, and we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate you guys watching. If you guys like the video, please hit the like button. If you guys like the content on the channel, not even our content, the MCU stuff, the main podcast as well, if you guys like that stuff and the reviews that are on the channel, please hit that sub button. It would really, really mean a lot to us. We record the podcast live every weekend, or every Friday, not this podcast, but the main podcast every Friday on twitch.tv/pointinprogress. Go check us out over there. But wherever you guys are, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, fantastic night, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye guys.